The tech world witnessed an unprecedented move when Perplexity AI became the center of stunning acquisition to buy Chrome. Perplexity, a 3-year-old startup led by CEO Aravind Srinivas.
I don't know.
I love how you just leave me out there every time there's
No,
Anyway, Perplexity CEO shocked the industry with an unsolicited all-cash offer for $34.5 billion to acquire Google's flagship Chrome browser. The staggering figure becomes even more remarkable compared to Perplexity's own $14 billion valuation. What's going on here, John?
Yeah, so let's talk about kind of why this matters, right? So think about this. It's crazy because if you think about it's like a 3-year-old company offering to buy the Golden Gate Bridge, essentially. And the reason why this matters is because Chrome, it's not just a browser. It's the gateway to the internet for over 3.5 billion people, which is about 68% of all web users. So we've covered this before, but Google's currently facing a major antitrust lawsuit where the government might force them to sell Chrome because they've been ruled an illegal monopolist. So Perplexity saw this opportunity and essentially said, we'll take it off your hands for $34.5 billion in cash, which is more than twice what their valuation is of $18 billion. The twist, though, in this is that Perplexity just launched their own AI-powered browser called Comet last month, and I still haven't had a chance to play with it. But it's designed to completely reimagine web browsing with AI. So instead of typing searches and clicking links, you can have conversations with your browser and ask it to do things like booking restaurants, summarizing emails, researching topics across. So it isn't just about buying a browser. It's about potentially reshaping how 3.5 billion people interact with the internet in the age of AI. But the thing with this is that they gave Google a 72-hour deadline, and I haven't heard anything since from it. So 2 questions to you. What are your thoughts on this? And did you find anything up on the deadline?
I haven't found anything on the deadline, but I will be following up with this. They definitely are punching above their weight. And this sounds very similar to the bid they made for TikTok not too long ago, and nothing ever happened of that. But I think, TikTok hasn't been forced to sell where we're expecting Google to be forced to sell Chrome. I think there's a larger piece here where Chromium is the base of most common browsers out there today. It's based on Chromium, which, is the back end for Chrome. And there's this infrastructure and organization that is built to maintain that. So what's Perplexity or whoever's commitment to maintain that moving forward? I think that needs to be discussed from this point of view. And I think it's going to have to be taken a look at seriously by the FCC or whoever regulates these things when whoever comes along to buy it, to make sure we're not just trading one monopoly for another.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're right. Like Perplexity is committing to maintaining Chromium as an open source, which is a critical promise because given, like you said, Chromium underpins Microsoft Edge, Opera, and other ones, right? So their approach is trying to, and also I think Comet is also built on Chromium. So I think they're just trying to get access to that market is what they're trying to do is in this bid. And that market is valuable.
Oh, absolutely. And getting rid of Chrome, the Chrome divestiture, would fundamentally disrupt Google's advertising, search, and AI product distribution strategies worldwide. And Perplexity's Comet browser illustrates possibility of an always-on capabilities beyond simple add-on integration. So if they're in charge of Chromium, they can start building AI first into the back end of the product. The problem is, if you're another company, what's going to stop you from building your stuff into the back end of this product, which got Google kind of in this hot mess in the first place, saying, hey, everyone who uses Chrome use our search. But now you're saying anyone who uses Chrome and is Perplexity on the back end, as an example. Isn't that the same problem?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they'll go there or they'll do that. And when I say, Google put a lot of money into Chromium, and I don't know if Perplexity is prepared to spend the kind of money it takes in order to do that, just because they don't have the kind of revenue Google does.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned because it is a 3-year-old company, and it's punching way over its weight. What does an acquisition like this do to a company?
Well, let's talk about this. So let's talk about the financial engineering behind this. So it's actually a sophisticated VC structuring that exceeds traditional startup funding models. So, like we said, Perplexity's $18 billion valuation. Despite that, there's multiple sources that confirm that several investors, including large VC funds, have agreed to back the transaction in full. And this is crazy. It represents a new model of venture-backed strategic acquisitions, where investors are willing to fund deals that exceed the acquiring company's own valuation. So they're betting on transformational market positioning rather than traditional asset acquisition. And the financing structure, it likely involves a combination of debt financing, equity participation from existing investors like SoftBank and NVIDIA, and potentially new strategic investors who see Chrome acquisition as providing unparalleled distribution advantages. So this is, again, another unprecedented kind of thing. I think it's kind of cool. I've always liked Perplexity. Now that Claude 4.1 is out, I've been using that a little bit more and Perplexity a little less, but I'm super excited to try their browser to see how that actually works. But yeah, I doubt this will go through, but it's cool to see them thinking outside the box for this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and they committed to invest $3 billion over the next 2 years to support the open source foundation that powers Chrome. But again, that's over 2 years, right? So because this company is fairly young, what does that mean for Chromium over long term if they decide that, this is costing us too much money? I take a step back, are they financially stable enough to be the trustee for this system that currently powers the internet?
Yeah.
Anyway, the other thing I'm concerned about is one, I like Perplexity as an AI company, and we talk about it all the time, but Perplexity is valued at 14 billion. What happens when they, spend 35 billion on something that's valued at well over 50 billion or 60 billion? Because DuckDuckGo owes 50 billion valuation suggests there's a market discrepancy in the pricing between what Perplexity is offering and what Chrome is worth. But when you buy something that is so much bigger than your company, how does that change your company? Does Perplexity AI still exist as it is, or does it just get swallowed up on this bigger thing that's going to make so much more money?
Well, I think they're already pivoting. They're focusing on this Comet browser. So they're still going to be an AI. They're just going to be more in your face AI, like be readily accessible and agentic AI.
Yeah, of course. I guess that's not what I'm saying. Everyone's focusing on the browser. I'm saying when, the search and the market for Chrome, then that whole thing is worth so much more than your company. Don't get me wrong. You're going to integrate AI. Are you now Chrome instead of Perplexity browser just because it's worth billions and driving the revenue and this thing becomes, you know what I'm saying? It's just a whole, you're buying a company that potentially that makes so much more money than you, that's so much bigger, that has so much more, needs so much more employees and so many more than you are today. That might be like 10 times the size just from it. What does that do to Perplexity? That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a good question. And well, we don't know because this is unprecedented, right? But
yeah,
it's a good question to ask. And obviously this, I would say there's a 90% chance this doesn't happen, 95 even 99, because Google's still fighting this antitrust, right?
Yeah, and for all the reasons I mentioned, one, there'll be other bidders. I think Perplexity is just biding the news cycle and letting people know we have financial backing, we're strong, we can go out and take a market if we need to.
Yeah.
Because to me, looking on the outside, as similar with the TikTok, this is a lot of noise and not really a serious bid. Because it sounds like it's under valuation of the product. They're not being forced to sell yet. there are other way bigger players that'll come up and step out of the woodwork and say, we'll pick it up for more or for less or whatever. So we'll have to see. But it just feels like this will never happen because it's undervalued and all the other regulatory things that maybe they're not financially strong enough to be the steed. Like I said, we want to make sure this company is going to be around for the next 25, 50 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Are they the keeper of this? So I think, they bid early, they make the news before anybody else does. And so they splash across the headlines, and that's great. They have more investment, more people are interested. Their valuation goes up based on all this stuff, and the CEO is doing his job.
Yeah. And to put this into perspective for those, like another perspective is just imagine if a promising food truck company offered to buy McDonald's. That's essentially what we're looking at. Like the Golden Gate, I was like, you can't really connect with that. Like think of a food truck trying to buy McDonald's. That's what this is. And I think like it's impressive, but yeah.
And with, other people valuating it at over 50 billion, there's at least a 15 billion discrepancy there. But you're also making the offer before the court comes down and forces them to do stuff, which may reduce the value, which may reduce. So, they're hitting at an interesting time, but I still don't think there's a chance in hell of this happening. And I still think that someone is just going to come up and buy Perplexity rather than them buying out of something else.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this Perplexity offer to buy Chrome for $35 billion, or the future of their Comet browser. And is Perplexity just playing a game here, or are they serious about these super acquisitions they keep trying to do? We'd love to hear your feedback. So, what do you got going on, John?
Yeah, so coming out end of September, definitely gearing up for Elevate. I know you're a partner with Elevate, aren't you, Craig?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So definitely we'll be doing something during the Elevate a week, probably a Flowgrammer event, if nothing else. They're a partner of ours. Definitely go out and check it out. There's a lot of great events going on related to Elevate. I said great events, sessions. Program, check out their schedule, check out all the different lines of programs and stuff. There's always good things there. So definitely go check out Elevate and check out Toronto Starts for our startup drinks, our startup investor drinks, and our Flowgrammer events where we help people learn how to automate things in their business. And John, if people need funding, where do they go?
Yeah, come find me on LinkedIn. I just posted some news about the Shred program, but come find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message and we'll set up, we'll talk and see if it makes sense to find some non-dilutive funding for you.
Really appreciate everyone taking their time to watch or listen to this week. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.